Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend.
Welcome to episode 51 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. The Terriers look like they could be heading towards defeat, and then that man, Karlan Grant, did this.
The long ball for Munier is put out of play for a throw-in. Town take it quickly. Oh, and Jonathan Hogg has found Karlan Grant on the left-hand side. Chance for Town here. Grant cuts infield, right-footed shot. Goal, Karlan Grant! An absolute beauty into the top corner. No room to manoeuvre. No backlift. Right-footed shot. Wigan 1. Huddersfield Town 1.
Town maybe could have gone on to win the game, but was a point fair in the end? Today, due to illness, I'm sat in quarantine, but unlike Neil Hart, I'm not one to renege on a promise, and at a safe distance, joining me via the wonders of Skype, I have Richard Kosi Kosmala and making a return, Simon Copland. Coming up this week, we'll talk Wigan away, the snoozing fan, Karlan Grant and the Championship's top talents, whilst we also look forward to Nottingham Forest and the transfer windows. This is episode 51, Quarantined. Let's hit some highlights before Neil Hart comes after my job.
Ball in, and the ball gets up there, Phil Starbuck. Beautiful goal by Phil Starbuck.
Moves in, Jepson's there, Billy in. A goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town. Joy for Jacko.
Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted to the Championship. Payne's got a chance. Payne scores. Jack Payne scores. Low diagonal shot into the bottom corner. But leads again straight to Moy again, who shoots. What a goal, Aaron Moy! An absolute thunderbolt delivered all the way from Australia. And Kachunga leads it. Smith scores for Huddersfield Town. 3-2 Town. Kachunga left it. And it's Tommy Smith, the skipper, who's drilled in surely one of the most important goals of the Huddersfield Town season.
Oh, where's he going to drop? It's in there!
3 Town at chance. Forrest Sherry. Danny Ward saves. Danny Ward saves. Onside, here's Munier. 2-0 Huddersfield Town on the opening day of the Premier League. Lindelof misses his header. De Quattro's in. Van de Gea. 2-0 Huddersfield Town. 2-0 Huddersfield Town. Here's Zanka to turn it into the pass. Yes! And Clement scored. Clement has scored one of the most important goals of Huddersfield Town's history. Williams streaking across the halfway line, runs into Christopher Schindler, and Town knock it forward. De Quattro's forward. De Quattro's got the better of it. And Laurent De Quattro scores. Laurent De Quattro scores. Bakuna, who releases Diakabi down the right, and suddenly Town are building a chance. Here's Bakuna arriving. Bakuna smashes it into the back of the net. Return pass by Diakabi. Jedinya Bakuna's broken his thumb for the season. Shortly after coming out of the shop. Oh boy, did he take his chance. Finds Bakuna. Bakuna into Grant, who shoots beautifully into the bottom corner. Karlan Grant, a shot at the turn for his 6th goal of the season. And Huddersfield Town lead Holstedy by a goal to nil.
Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Good evening.
Evening, chaps. All right, Matthew. I've just been for my interview, so I'll be able to tell you a bit more later, I think.
Very good. We'll have some good insight if you get the job. Right, so before we get going, thank you to Magic Rock for sponsoring Andy Takes That Chance. You can check them out on Willow Lane in Birkby. Some quality beers to be had down there. Also, they work with the Welcome Centre in Huddersfield, so if you would like to donate to the Welcome Centre, Magic Rock have 2 blue bins at the entrance to the tap room. where they'll take canned foods and warm clothing. So thanks to those that have already donated so far. Right, guys, we'll get fired into Wigan 1, Huddersfield Town 1. I'm going to go from a few points from Danny Cowley's post-match interview, which was always raw and revealing as usual. Kosi, 2,000 Huddersfield Town, well, just under 2,000 Huddersfield Town fans there. Really great turnout. Again, just before Christmas as well. Always there in numbers doing the bit this season. It's good. It's good to see, isn't it?
It is good to see, but talking about not seeing, did anyone see that video doing the round? That Town fan that would absolutely, he was just he just laid across the seat to sleep, wasn't he? Did you see it? Yeah. I noticed that he put that it was his work night out the night before and that as well. He was getting his excuses into that as well. But if I'm being honest, he spoke for us all there because the game was absolutely dire. I mean, me and obviously Si went to the Charlton game. Everyone else saw it, but the Wigan game, did it surpass it for ineptness? Not far off. But yeah, we took 1,800. It was absolutely freezing. Not a lot happened. Danny Simpson had a shocker. It was the first time I think we've ever said that. Doing his best to give Wigan 3 points. Josh Windass running off like he'd just scored the World Cup final winning goal, taking advantage of a hilarious cock-up. And obviously a moment of magic for Karlan Grant, and pretty much that were it, really. The pies were good. There was some impressive catering there.
Wigan's renowned for pies. You should expect that. So what Danny Cowley said about the first half was he wasn't pleased with the process. He said we were mentally and physically weak and maybe feeling sorry for ourselves. You mentioned there, Kosi, as well, the error from Kamil Grabara. Simon, me and you, members of the goalkeepers union, if you like, I think the stick he's got since is a little bit over the top considering his age and performance relative to his age. I like him. I think he's a good goalkeeper. Do you think that some of the stick he's got's a bit over the top? I know he's made 2 errors this season, Millwall and yesterday. Is it just par for the course for a young Championship goalkeeper? And is he doing a decent job between the sticks?
Yes and no for me. I think you're right in saying that some of the criticism is coming for us a little bit over the top, a little bit exaggerated. But at the same time, do I have the confidence in him that I had probably in Danny Ward previously and Lossell kind of in the 2 seasons we had in the Premier League? Probably not. Whilst, yes, you're right in saying he hasn't made too many mistakes, I can't really think of some out-and-out wonderful saves that he's made or some out-and-out wonderful games where he's kind of made a real contribution to getting us points. So I think it's fair to say the jury is very much still out on him. And I think one of the questions doing the rounds is how much better is he than kind of what we've got on our books at the moment? Is he much better than Schofield? So question mark. Why has he disappeared off the bench, by the way? That's kind of real mystery to me. And similarly, is he particularly much better than Coleman? And I'm not too sure about either of those, really. I think if you're going to go into the loan market and bring a goalkeeper and you need to be 100% sure he's better than what you've already got. And I think that's where perhaps some people's frustration lies.
So that's the first tweet I've got mentioned here, which is from Chris Bowman. Says, should Schofield be given a chance, and in what ways is Grabara better? And I've only seen Ryan Schofield in limited things. I know, Kosi, you tweeted, didn't you, that you hadn't seen a lot of Ryan Schofield as well. I've seen bits of him, and I like what I've seen so far. You know, an England youth goalkeeper, Huddersfield fan, Huddersfield lad. There's a lot to like with Ryan Schofield. I don't think he's quite ready for the Championship. I'd like to see him bridge that gap from League 2 to the Championship with a loan at League 1. I think the Nottingham Forest game coming up, I would stick with Grabara. Ryan Schofield did play one game, didn't he, in the league this year? He did okay. He made a brilliant save, didn't he, against Middlesbrough? Where I think people are being a bit harsh on Grabara is there's quite a few saying that he doesn't command his box very well, which I would disagree with to a point, because I think one thing that he does have over Ryan Schofield at this present moment in time is that he comes and takes out his fair share of crosses. You know, he does punch. Modern goalkeepers do punch a lot. And I think that sort of command in the box is what gives him the edge over Ryan Schofield. Both decent shot stoppers for their age as well. So I would persevere with Grabara, and I think he'll get better as well. We've got a decent goalkeeper coach, highly rated one in Clem. So I would stick with him. Sorry, I'm just turning down my notifications there because there's a few beeping through on the phone that I've got connected to Sky.
I agree with you guys.
I completely... Sorry.
Go, Kosi. We'll go Kosi first. Kosi, you got in there first.
I agree with you guys. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I just felt a bit of an agenda. There's not many times this season I've really felt, the goalkeeper position needs to be looked at. And yeah, obviously a disaster on Saturday, but he's 20. He's such a young guy, and I just think some people try and make a fuss for the sake of it. Some people pushing me, talking as though they've seen Schofields every game and that as well. And I think Karlan knows what he's doing, and I think it's a bit harsh, really, in that as well. Just think that we need to recruit in January, and for me, goalkeeper positions is well down the pecking order.
Yeah.
I completely take your point, Matt. I guess kind of when you say persevere, the question is with what in mind. So the assumption at the moment is that he'll go back to Liverpool next season, and we'll either then look to bring in a permanent goalkeeper, we'll promote Schofield, or we'll do something different. And I guess kind of inevitably as a championship club bringing in Premier League players on loan, you are asked to do a job in developing them, and it is a little bit about the future and not necessarily about the here and now. But to what end do we owe Grabara the opportunity for development versus looking after ourselves first and foremost? I want Huddersfield Town to be higher in the league, and I want Huddersfield Town to do better. And great if we can do that and kind of combine that with Grabara's development. But ultimately, that's secondary for me. So yeah, I'm quite happy to do it, but not at the expense of Huddersfield Town.
Well, my point on that is that I'm not the biggest Joel Coleman fan. I'll be honest. I wouldn't pick Coleman. Ryan Schofield I do like, but I don't think he's fully ready for the amount of games in the Championship. But some will argue that you don't really know until you throw him in. But Grabara's not going anywhere. I would stick with him. I think he's fine. We're not going to be chasing the top 6. I think he's good enough for us to stave off the bottom 3 as well. I don't see it as, I'm like Kosi, I don't see it as a problem position. It's something that needs looking at long term. But for now, I think he's okay.
We've got to December. What is it? December the 18th. We've never discussed Kamil Grabara's place until now. And the horrendous setup. It's not as if it's been coming and what have you. I think the trouble is for me, it's just the modern day keeper. Where back in the day, who fit and people want it in the stands. Keepers like Manuel Neuer did it. He was started it. I thought about 6-7 years ago, what have you, and everyone was like, wow, this is not what a keeper should do. And yeah, he's just kind of moved on. You need Joe Hart got bombed out of Man City by Guardiola because he was no good with his feet, and the goalkeeper's job now is, to me, I always think get it out, use your hands, but you're looking for a bit more than that. But no, I think move on, nothing to really see here. But obviously the critics are going to be ready for him, and there'll be extra pressure on Saturday, I think, against Forest.
Yeah, the only thing that I've kind of like been sceptical with Grabara about, I think shot stopping wise he's decent as well, but is when he signed from Liverpool, I think one of the major selling points we were told was he was great playing out from the back, and I've not really seen that to that degree to think that he was that's a major selling point for him. But like you say, Kosi, I'm happy to move on. I don't mind Kamil Grabara. He's 20. I think he'll get better as the season goes on. He's a confident guy. I'm happy to get behind him, and I'm sure most fans are as well. So the game, it's a tough one, Kosi, and you know my feelings when Grant plays central. I like to see him freed up to do what he does best. Mounier came on, and a lot of people commenting that Steve Mounier helped change the game around a bit. He didn't have the best of times against Charlton. Not the best performance at all there. A bit of a spell of illness, but he came on, and he seemed to help us get a footing in that final third a bit more, Kosi.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Mounier just seems to be impact off the bench. He does a good job, but if you start him, obviously minimal starts, he doesn't seem to have the same effect. And wow, his header, I thought that was in all the way. It was a brilliant clearance off the line, to be fair, by the guy, the Wigan defender. I thought that, that was him. But yeah, it's. I still think we won't see him past January. I think he'll be going, but at the moment, I think he's a guy who can come on and do some damage last 20, 30 minutes, but would I want to start for him? No. But on Saturday, yeah, he did a good job, and and that man Grant, well, just no more words you can say about him, really. I think what's worrying for me, he doesn't need a rocket science to know how well he's doing, but we're seeing loads of videos, social media, quite a big outlet to getting hold of him now out there, and look at this for the goal. Will he stay past January? I think a lot of people outside Huddersfield now are talking it up, and obviously when you see what you saw on Saturday, no surprise really.
No, it's one of those quality goals, and what's quite impressive and hasn't really been picked up on from a lot of Huddersfield fans is Huddersfield Town get a lot of stick for throw-ins. It's come from a quick throw-in out wide. Kachunga's involved out wide, isn't he? Jonathan Hogg picks it up. Hoggy doesn't get forward a lot. He plays it forward to Grant on the corner, and there's a good decoy run from Hadajinai as well to take the defender away. And the impressive thing for Grant is he can't really stick it into his favourite far corner. There's a defender very close, and he finds a small spot to just whip it, without much backlift into the top corner. It's a cracking goal, Simon.
Yeah, really good strike. Strike of someone who, it's a strike that will no doubt caught the attention of Premier League scouts and Premier League managers. And I think the threat of losing him in January is very real, dare I say it. As you guys said, hope we can hold on to him, certainly to the end of the season. But there's no doubt there'll be people knocking at our doors, and just demonstrated again kind of how he's perhaps kind of the only real person with any creativity or any real spark in the team at the moment. But
I think the commentator said
great goal. And
it's around 60% of our goals have come via Grant, and I think there's probably about another 20 odd via Bakuna. So we're not spreading it out very well at the minute.
Oh, guys, we're playing Russian roulette with our championship status, in my opinion, if he goes. And obviously, with no money talks, what have you, but he's the only one who's, to me, is kind of delivering Bakuna a little bit and that as well. If he goes, we're in massive trouble. And I think the thing is with it, it's a really weird situation, because we've had a really good run. Depends how you look at the stats at the moment. I think we've won 1 in 7, so it's not right good. You kind of think, well, yeah, Danny Cowley will get out of it, to get us out of it. You've got that faith, haven't you, in him? But you look around, he's not as far from guaranteed, really. I thought Wigan played the better football than us on Saturday, but just lacked a bit of, cutting edge. I'm not as convinced as other people that, it's, especially take him out of the equation. We have to keep him at all costs, and I mean, let's be honest, he doesn't do a lot else apart from what he does. He's not.
But it's so valuable, isn't it? So much.
Yeah, absolutely. When he just, because let's be honest, and again, I'm not picking on him, maybe I am. Kachunga, he wouldn't have been that first time. He'd have took a touch, he'd have passed it square, Grant, boom, it's in. Absolutely brilliant. He's just got that. He's got that
special talent, hasn't he, for scoring goals? Yeah, he's very. When it comes to scoring goals, he's very talented. And like you say, he might not do a lot elsewhere. He himself was quite critical of his first half performance, which, to be fair, I don't think he was the only one. I thought everyone played poorly first half. I genuinely only thought Jonathan Hogg came out with any credit really during the sort of 75 minutes that I was lucky enough to see. Apart from maybe Bakuna. Bakuna had flashes here and there where he did a brilliant run in the first half, didn't he, and played Grant in. But it's just one of those games where not everything didn't quite go to plan. But we've got 4 points from 6, Kosi, against Charlton and Wigan, who are probably going to be down in the bottom. It looks like a bottom 7's going to be cut adrift at some point. And 4 points from 6 away from home, it's a decent return despite missing 11 players, I think it was, against Leeds one way or another, and 7 or 8 again over the weekend. It could be going worse, is the point I'm trying to make there.
Never mind the quality field of points. I think I tweeted to you on Saturday night, because, got to be honest, the last 2 games, I was bored out of my head. The standard of the football, the quality of the football, maybe it always has been like that, and but we were boring. It was absolute rubbish, but we got the 4 points. Imagine if we'd got no points, you'd have been even more frustrated. The guy that was asleep in the seats on Saturday, like I said, he kind of spoke for us all, but it's all about getting us staying up in this division and then going again in August and that. So I'm willing with this kind of
attritional football.
What you call it, but
football,
absolutely, because
what Kosi neglects to tell you is that kind of we watched the game together at Charlton at the Valley last Tuesday, and I think it might have been my company more than anything else that kind of meant the day dragged for him. But no, I kind of echo everything that's kind of been said there. Really, just so slow at times. Just kind of the passing, even the sideways passing. It was always an unnecessary touch. Kind of everything felt kind of so. Kind of just hard work, attritional, kind of repetitive. Definitely made kind of for had it not been for Matty Daly's last minute winner at the Valley, that kind of long slug I had kind of back across to West London would have kind of felt horrible. It wasn't particularly enjoyable as it was.
I think what it is, Si, it makes me laugh. It's like the Sky. You know, you've got your Sky remote control, and you sometimes you can press it, can't you? Like fast forward it on. It feels like so many of our games. I just want to
just press it fast forward,
not to finish, but it's just more of the passing. I want it to be quicker. It's not matter to get to 90 minutes or whatever so it's done, but just start. And to be fair, we're seeing kind of, you know, Stankovic is I'm really liking what he's bringing on the ball, but especially when you're sat behind the goal or stood behind the goal, his options are so kind of minimal. And I think Wigan used the pitch better than us. I thought on Saturday they got in behind us a few times, but didn't really, you know, capitalise. And
never really looked like they were going to score, did they? Apart from until the Grabara incident, and then they had two chances really that I saw where they could have scored, and they were both sort of issues of our own making. Really, the Grabara incident, then Danny Simpson slipped Josh Windass in at the start of the second half, didn't he? And Grabara made a good save, to be fair. It's one of those, isn't it, Kosi, whereby if you use football manager analogy or championship manager as you used to play back in the day, if you're bored of a season, you put yourself on holiday to the end, and then you could make all your transfers and do what you want to do. And it's almost like that. But I think, you know, the funny thing is, if you take away the error that we've made, we could have, as we say, shithoused another 1-0 there quite easily. So, you know, I don't think the return's bad. I get, I've got more sympathy for you, Kosi, because you went to both games and you've probably spent the best part of 200 quid there, haven't you? And to be fair, if you're spending that much money, you need something back, an entertainment value for the money you've spent.
Yeah, I mean, it was only the whole game, Matt, what I think kind of, to me, it was kind of entertaining. But the only thing I, you know, say is like, that's the project we're in. We get it. We've got to stay up at all costs. I'm willing to sacrifice. You know, it's almost like the Lou McCarrick football. Remember, we've got the players under people absolutely hated it. But, you know, again, he were working to a minimal budget, and it's a bit similar to that. So I'm sure in time we'll get the new players and he'll get his style in it, and it'll be a lot more exciting. But I mean, I'm just talking about the division in general, Matt. That we're talking guys who can't even pass the ball, trap a ball, flick a ball. The skill set amongst the things apart from Leeds, you know, some of that quality, as much as it pains me to say it, that were ruthless what they did to us. But everyone else,
I've been on about this for 12 months, and I was on about a few weeks ago where I said I don't know if it's because we've been in the Premier League for a few years and we've come down, whether we've all of a sudden gone, oh, hang on, this league isn't as good as I remember. But to me, the Championship for a good 12 months or so just seems to have dipped a fair bit, and maybe we just need to realign expectations. But I'm 100% with you, whereby currently we're chipping away at points, and if we stay up, which I think we will do, the ends justify the means, don't they? And no one cares really about pretty football if you get relegated, but if you stay up, then everybody's happy at the end of the day. I
agree. Sorry, Matt, to come back there, but I agree with you. But I'm just talking, you know, I know people are going to say, well, Leeds and West Brom are standing. I'm not talking about points and this proves, you know, they're 15 points ahead of this.
Neither are we.
I'm just talking about
the quality of players.
Who would you buy? Which players have you thought this year when you've watched? Obviously, we've talked about Grant, you know, could mention quite a few of Leeds and West Brom players, but who else in other teams have you really thought, wow, he was good, he was special, he had a bit about him? If you think about that, look at Derby, 16th this year, Matt. Like, the Chelsea loanee's long gone, and obviously doing a good job for Lampard and that as well, but I don't see them kind of loan guys that maybe the other team, maybe in the other years that people get in FFP. I don't know what it is, but I've been utterly shocked. And although people, because I put it on my Twitter a couple of times, people said it would always like this, Kosi. But I refuse to believe that the standard was.
I don't think it was. And I'm on about the same thing, really, because when you look at Leeds and West Brom are miles ahead of everyone else, and they come up against someone, you just don't think they ain't got the players to take these on and beat them. It's just. It's the same thing, really, but it links nicely, does this, onto Sky Sports have done an article about the top 10 championship players.
One more point.
No. Yeah, go on, mate.
Sorry, Matt. One point on Leeds United. This cut me off. But I do 100% agree that Leeds have only spent that team in the Championship this season, but you look at that squad on paper and you think, where to get promoted, how many of them realistically can play in the Premier League for them next season? And I could go for that team: Dallas at right back, Iron at centre half, Cooper, Berardi, Douglas wasn't good enough for Wolves, Phillips potentially in midfield, Phillips, Hernandez maybe at the twilight of his career perhaps, But then kind of Bamford, been there, done that, not good enough. You look at that team on paper, and for me, they're going to have to kind of bring in and sell so many players to create a team that's potentially good enough to keep them in the Premier League. And for me, that just demonstrates the gulfing class between the two divisions, as well as the points that you've just mentioned. For me, that Leeds team on paper's a good Championship team, but nothing more. And yeah, I'm at risk of sounding like a big Huddersfield town.
I said the same thing a couple of weeks ago.
They're going to have a lot of work to do to go up.
I said that's the same thing a couple of weeks ago. The players on paper aren't particularly that great. It's the same players really that they've been finishing 12th, 13th, 14th, 8th with. So yeah, I agree, but I think the coach there lifts them up to another level, doesn't he? I think if you took like Lee Johnson or somebody average and put them in charge, I don't think they're anywhere near as good as what they are at the minute. But it is what it is.
Guys, I'd just say 2 words to you: Sheffield United, who 5th in the Premier League. I was thinking they'd get 10 points all year, 15 points. Journeymen, Billy Sharp, people like Fleck. Honestly, mate,
there's a lot to be said for good coaching, isn't there?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a problem to solve. But I'm just appalled. Just that again, the skills there. So, I mean, how many times this year we've seen people passing it out of play and stuff? It's like it was a Gus Winger. It shocked me really. And I just hope that it's going to get better. I mean, Nottingham Forest supposed to play some good football, but hopefully it'll be a better game on Saturday. But maybe because the last 2 they were builders relegation, big games, and maybe that people went into the shells. Obviously, we've got a lot of men out, but totally agree with you, decided we need to be a lot quicker and a lot more effective with this passing, and hopefully that'll start soon.
So this links on nicely anyway to an article Sky Sports did, which was the top 10 Championship players, 22 and under. Keith Andrews and Joby McAnuff gave their insight, if you like, onto it, and as is football, they gave their nod to someone who's in the top 2 at the moment. Keith Andrews, I think, said Nathan Ferguson is his standout player for the Championship from his age, and Nathan Ferguson's a very, very good player. And Joby McAnuff gave it to Ben White, who's on loan at Leeds, and Ben White's a good player as well. And so we talk about quality, cause and these are the 10 that they've listed at the moment. Jude Bellingham from Birmingham, Jayden Bogle from Derby, Jared Bowen from Hull is a player I've liked for a long time, but he looked useless against us when we beat them 3-0. Grady Diangana is one of those players because he's a lone player from West Ham who's gone to West Brom, and he's superb. I think I could see him playing Premier League football in the not too distant future. Eberechi Eze from QPR, really good player as well. Conor Gallagher on loan at Charlton from Chelsea. Karlan Grant, Noah Masengo, and Ben White. So Masengo's from Bristol City, is the 18-year-old they brought him from Monaco, I think. So there are actually some good players there. Karlan Grant's in good company. I'll throw this to you two guys. Who would you give your nod to as the best Championship player under the age of 22 from that list?
I'll let you go first, Kosi.
It's hard to comment, to be honest with you, because I've not seen enough of these players to kind of really say, to be honest, that as well. I'm just trying to kind of think games, people that have impressed. I didn't see the Bristol game, so, I can't really kind of say. But, yeah, for me, I've not seen many players who I'd be wanting to, kind of sign and bring to the Premier League. So I suppose I'm going to pass on that.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I've seen some in detail, not all. I think Jared Bowen's an interesting one. I think he got a couple of goals the other day, didn't he? Can't remember who was against, but was anonymous against us. Heard lots and lots of good things about Ben White, but against Huddersfield, I actually thought it was a bit average, in truth, and didn't really stand out for me. I mean, kind of Karlan Grant's got to be up there, hasn't he, surely? Kind of the amount of goals he scored in a kind of below average Championship team, and a Championship team that's really struggled. And some of the goals he scored as well, kind of Wigan at the weekend being a great example of that. I think he is an obvious contender, but yeah, kind of I'm not sure I'd look beyond him really.
I think I'll give my vote to Eze at QPR. I really like Eberechi Eze at QPR. They're all good players to a certain degree that are on this list. You've got to back your own in Karlan Grant to be up there as well. But I think Eze from QPR is a very, very good number 10. There are shades of shades of Paul Gascoigne for me in the way that he runs with the ball a lot. Do you know that in terms of style? I'm not saying he's as good as him, but in terms of style, he slaloms through central positions like him, and has a bit of also like a Zaha kind of look as well in terms of the skill set he has. So a good player for me. Nathan Ferguson's very good. So there's some good ones there. But Karlan Grant deservedly in that group of 10. So it's good to see in a lot of ways, but also not good to see when you're trying to keep him under wraps with the January window around the corner. And that January window is something Huddersfield fans always like to chat about. So we'll do it briefly because we've been linked with a lot of players already. And Daniel Peckett says, what are your thoughts on the recent transfer rumours of Ben Whiteman from Doncaster and Morgan Fox from Sheffield Wednesday, what we need? So we've been linked with Ben Whiteman, Fox, Rhian Brewster. I think what's important to remember is that if we're usually thrown in with another 3 or 4 clubs, so-and-so. So Sammy Smodic from Bristol City is probably a good example, whereby it says Huddersfield and 4 other clubs are interested in potentially taking him in January. That usually smacks of an agent trying to use clubs to raise interest. So I would always kind of caution to a lot of people who, when you see it's been linked with players in the Daily Express or whatnot. But any names that you've seen grab your attention, guys, that you think, wow, that could be a cracking signing for us in January? Obviously, players out is going to be more important than players in some ways, but that's not as exciting about talking as players in. I'm going to throw that to you, Simon, since you did the dirty on Kosi last time.
Rhian Brewster's the one that kind of, really kind of think, wow, that could be something potentially. From what I understand, Liverpool think very highly of him. He's been around the fringes of that team, certainly all this season. I think he had a bad injury last year that kind of meant he was sidelined for 12 months. But everyone speaks really kind of quite encouragingly about him. So, yeah, for him to potentially come to Huddersfield would be good. I'm just not quite sure necessarily how he gets in that team if we keep hold of Grant, if Fraser Campbell's fit, because actually our problems are probably more in other positions than what they are up front with them two in the squad.
That's my point with him as well. Because Rhian Brewster, I've seen him play mostly for the England youth teams, and him and Jadon Sancho play Kosi. You'll know all about watching Dortmund last night as well. And Rhian Brewster was probably the second best player to Jadon Sancho in that England youth team, and it was a very good England youth team. The only sort of not concern as such, because I'd be delighted to have him, would be, is he a bit similar to Karlan Grant, and do you need someone who can lead the line drop off and bring them into play rather than them sort of linking together? And I think that would be the only thing, but it would be a good signing either way, and hopefully it doesn't mean that Grant's away, which I don't think it does. But yeah, go on.
I think just to continue, I think for me, left back is more of a pressing issue. We're kind of still struggling to fill that space. I do think Flo's not done a bad job in the last couple of games. The overlapping run you mentioned that created space to a goal was really good. There's a block against Charlton, you remember Kosi, that I thought was kind of a good example of him putting his body on the line that perhaps he wouldn't have done previously. So he's not been a disaster in that position, but I think to not recruit a left back in January then puts a lot of pressure on Jayden Brown to, one, perform, and two, to stay fit for the remainder of the season. So I think for me that's a priority position. I know we've always been linked to that guy, but it doesn't excite me too much, but maybe it is just find someone to the end of the season. Morgan
Fox was the name linked, and apparently he's out of contract at the end of the season, and he's been quite average for Sheffield Wednesday until this season, where apparently he's found a new level, which a lot of players do when the contracts are coming to an expiration. Harry Toffolo keeps getting mentioned as well, the Lincoln City left back. I don't know whether that's just a 2+2 job because of the Cowley brothers and the Lincoln connection. But yeah, so left back definitely is one, Simon, and centre back as well, because he might be a position of interest, because obviously we've got Elphick out for 9 months. Terence Congolo, we know what's going on there. And that just leaves 2 fit centre-backs. So if there's an injury, who would you play there at the back, Kosi? That's going to be one of the main things. Romani Emmons-Green did quite well, though, at Charlton. Do you think he's ready for a bit more, maybe?
He was great at Charlton, but, it's a big effort to kind of come into a team that's struggling in a relegation battle as well. Chalobah, Chalobah, I wouldn't be too confident of him being. I think there'll be a centre back signed up to come in definitely in that as well. And
it makes sense.
Yeah, we definitely need. Yeah, win-win.
The one link we've had is it with the guy Tommy Smith from over in America previously in Ipswich?
I don't think there's anything.
I don't think
there's anything like that. But yeah, so moving on, we'll move on from the transfer window is obviously very exciting, and I think it'll ramp up over the next couple of weeks and Christmas as well. Phil Hodgkinson and the Cowleys, I believe, have said they're looking at loans from a higher division. So when Rhian Brewster's mentioned, then that's usually a 1+1 job, Premier League loan. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at the Forest game, because we've got an interesting game coming up against Nottingham Forest. It's good to see us playing them again. It's a game that's thrown up some good memories before at the past, and Town keep releasing these YouTube videos of the top 4 or 5 wins against our opponents, and I watched the one today. It brought back some good memories. 2005 was a particularly good one where we beat them 2-1 at home under Jacko, and one of my favourites, Kosi. I don't know if you remember this one, but do you remember Town on Sky? The Steve Bruce, everything was quite new. We'd signed a load of players, and no one was quite sure how good that team was. And then we went to Nottingham Forest, and Clyde Vineyard whipped one into the top corner. I do. What an absolute pearler that was.
It was. God, I'm going to show my age now, but I remember one earlier than that. Brian Clough, God, Simon will be like, I don't remember this, but
Nigel?
it was a League Cup game back in '89. They had Nigel Clough, Brian Clough, Nottingham Forest were like a top team, Stuart Pearce, Brian Laws, that kind of milk and that as well. And
Kosi,
it would have kind of
without cheating, can you remember the guy that played on the wing that day for Nottingham Forest who would then go on to play for us under Neil Warnock?
Yeah, was it Gary Crosby?
That's the one, yeah, Gary Crosby. I think he scored at Leeds Road, did Gary Crosby?
Yeah. But yeah, I always like going to sit down. But yeah, obviously the return of Joe Lolly, who I never got the hype, to be honest, guys. Controversial comment, might get a bit of social media. Never got the hype. Wasn't too bothered to see him go. Not really fussed for him coming back.
I don't think anyone was anyone that bothered until he started doing well at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
That's the question, really. I always liked him because he was such a decent lad, really, and he had quite a good grounding. Going to university, and whenever at Canalside, he was always one of the players that would kind of smile and say hello and be quite normal. So I'm quite pleased that he's doing well at Nottingham Forest. But if he'd have stayed at Huddersfield, I don't think there's any guarantees he'd have been doing the same thing. But we've had a couple. Why
do we always play teams who off the back of a hiding? Why do we always see us bumping into teams who've had a scratching? What happened with Bristol? Bristol lost. Part of us. Forest got an absolute toweling last week against Sheffield Wednesday, and that's something I want to talk about as well, because a lot of people have been showing this video again, and people leaving at half time and should do this and you should do that. You know what? You pay your money. I'm going off on a tangent here, but you pay your money to go watch football. You can do whatever you want. You can go at half time. If people want to go at half time and spend second half somewhere else, so what? I hate people who should do this and shouldn't do that, should have a self-stick, shouldn't take a picture, you shouldn't take a video, you shouldn't leave it after. You can do what you want. You pay that much money to watch a game of football. And a load of rubbish and that as well. Honestly, it just made me laugh. And again, that obviously Jordan Rhodes out of nowhere just become news again. But I just expect the Forest will be back on Saturday. It's a bit of a worry that they got a talent, to be honest with you. I think they'll come fighting.
Going off on a tangent as well, nice hat-trick that from Rhodes, left foot, right foot header, the perfect hat-trick and an overhead kick to finish that off. It was pretty special, really. So, ignoring Jordan Rhodes, so we've got Forest coming up. A couple of tweets that have come in. John Barry Goward has asked Simon, who would your midfield be if Hogg, Chalobah, Bacuna, O'Brien and Pritchard were all available? Who's your three there?
Maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'd probably play a 4-2-3-1 formation if everyone was fit. I'd have Hogg and O'Brien kind of a 6 and 8, Hogg being the 6, O'Brien being the one to kind of push forward a little bit more and a bit of creativity. And then ahead of them, kind of Pritchard playing in the number 10 position, particularly at home, I must say as well, where I think kind of we need to take the game to Forest off the back of their results. So that's the three I would go with. I think Bacuna is perhaps a bit unfortunate to miss out, but it's probably been a little while now since he had that real good run of games, admittedly as well, where he came off the bench. So I think kind of having him off the bench, looks to introduce him about 60 minutes, and Chalobah's a bit of a Nottingham player for me, and I'm quite happy if he kind of spends 90 minutes kind of in his tracksuit, in truth.
Simon's only Bacuna, though. That goes forward in our midfield. Would you leave him out?
I think that's what I'm saying. I think O'Brien hasn't played in the midfield for a little while, and actually he will add some energy in there and drive forward. If you put him in there alongside Hogg, and obviously Pritchard's very much accustomed to that number 10 position. So I think in O'Brien and Pritchard, there you've got two forward-thinking players, two attacking, obviously more attacking-minded players than perhaps what you've seen previously. And I think it's a balance between take your point, Kosi, but leaving Chalobah out kind of you put Chalobah in, and that gives you even more kind of defensive-minded players in there. So I think that's what I would do personally. From what you described, you do something quite different. So over to you, mate. What's your three?
You're probably on the spot, but Bacuna would definitely be in mine. We need someone to kind of get forward. Jonathan Organ and O'Brien. That's kind of my three. But we're desperate for a playmaker, aren't we? That for me, that is someone we've been needing in that window. Huge. But what would you think? To be honest, are we really going to get those centre back, a left back, a playmaker, and maybe a striker? It's a big ask, really, especially when we've got 28 players. We're on about a big squad and getting. We need to get people out.
It brings its own risk, doesn't it? Having a big turnover in January also brings its own risk as well if you get it wrong as well. So,
but the one thing I would say on that though is there is a bit of room for us to bring in some loan players where arguably there's a little bit of less risk. So if you think back to kind of under Wagner, we probably had 5 loans kind of already tied up this time into that kind of second season. Where we wanted to strengthen, we'd probably have to go down the permanent route. We've actually got much more flexibility this time, so you could do a bit more in that loan market if you wanted to, but I think we're going to have to kind of get rid of some bodies before we kind of credibly bring some people in, if only just to balance the books.
It's just a bit of a weird time for me, though, guys, because it does feel to me, in my head, I'm thinking there's no way we're going down, but I don't know if you saw, but Barnsley had a right win on Saturday. We're only 6 off the bottom. I don't want to be the doom merchant here, but Wigan, I thought, played better football, still struggling to get out of it. Luton to be on a free fall, but there's a real scrap to be had here. Like you said, Matt, I think it is going to come down to 6 to 8 teams and stuff. And it's really weird. My head tells me, we're sorted, we'll be fine, we'll be comfy mid-table. But if Grant goes, and I still think there's a lot of football to be played. It does worry me. I'm not being complacent, but I just feel when I see kind of Wigan playing a better football than us on Saturday, not by much, and they're below us, I'm just thinking we've still got a lot of work to do to get out of it.
Doesn't hurt to keep your...
Do you agree or what? I just think, we think we're going to be safe, but we're in a battle. Make no mistake, it's halfway through the season after Saturday, and there's only one, it's just going to be like this till the end of the season. We need to watch out, I think, in that.
I completely agree, Kosi. I think the first time I was on the podcast, actually, I shared a stat at the time that there was no club in Huddersfield Town's position that had stayed up in the Championship, given where it was. Now since then, we've obviously gone on that great run, 7 unbeaten. We're looking very much more assured under the Cowleys, and kind of a few games ago, would you say we're kind of in a relegation battle? Probably not, but I think we are. I still think we are, and I think I think Danny and Nicky think we are as well, which is good to know.
We've got
the sooner we can get to 50 points, the better.
We've got the worst home record in the Sky Bet Championship. The worst. That needs to improve. We need to start winning at home. And is it Hull? The last time we won at home?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a long time ago. That we need, this Forest game. It feels. I saw someone put. I don't know if it was in paper or tweet saying if we lost to Forest, it won't be too bad because we've got some bigger games over. Honestly, we should be aiming to win every game that we play. We shouldn't be targeting certain games, and you're going to pile the pressure on Borough and Stoke. We've got some absolutely huge games to come up for Christmas. Blackburn at home are really, really good. I think between now and after we played Stoke on New Year's Day, that we're either going to be kind of heads up above water or we're going to be really deep in it. It's a massive period for Town, and it's just a shame the window's not opening tomorrow, and it's not going to open until after we played these games. So let's just hope we get some guys back, because we do need O'Brien back for Saturday for sure.
There's certainly no harm in constantly looking in your rear view mirror every 10 seconds as per, or 30 seconds or whatever it is that you used to have on your driving test anyway. So I would, I want to see Hogg and Bacuna as our 6 and 8 going forward. I want to see if Bacuna can take that number 8 by the reins, if you like. I've seen little flashes of him dictating play here and there, find some good angles. So young player, let's try and develop him. That's my point. So the question then is if you play O'Brien or Pritchard, and I think then that comes down to if Fraser Campbell's up front or not. If Fraser Campbell's not up front, then you need a proper number 10. But if he is, then you can probably put O'Brien in. But anyway, we'll move on. So Smile a while.
Fraser Campbell getting covered in beer on Saturday in that concourse. It was funny to see him. I know. I think they thought they were having a few photos, and then all of a sudden, beer started flying. But it's always weird, isn't it, to see players in with fans? It's happened so many times, don't it? That like over the years, I remember Max Stewart sat with fans. I think with Burnley or somewhere and that as well. But it just makes me smile because like footballers were like, everyone's like pointing them like they're unbelievable, but it's just like they're just normal people really, other than that as well. But it's certainly it would be rather than on the pitch than in the stands. Is Campbell fit Saturday a lot? What are you hearing?
Not heard anything yet, so I think we'll probably have to wait till tomorrow's press conference. So we're recording on a Wednesday, aren't we? So tomorrow's press conference will probably reveal a few bits and bats or not, because Danny Cowley can be quite deceptive, can't he, in some of the things that he said. So one that's coming from Smile a While's fanzine says, with Joe Lawley returning this weekend, which Town player has since left in the last 5 years that you would snatch back considering form, budget in our current squad? Neil replied to this straight away and said Chris Lerver, which is probably one of the best shouts that you'll get on that one. But anyone that you would have back in the last 5 years? Izzy Brown was one for me until he got injured. Casey Palmer. But there's probably...
the one who... Sorry, the one who I'd have is actually still on our books, believe it or not, Aaron Moy. I think...
yeah, that's cheating. It's cheating.
Come on, give me that. I'd love to see him in a Town shirt again. I kind of briefly caught bits of the Brighton game, which wasn't a classic, but I've seen him a couple of times in a Brighton shirt now, and kind of pulling strings in their midfield, looking a very good player. Pleased for him, delighted for him, particularly after the comments, obviously, that Phil came out and said about him. But I'd still like to see him in a Huddersfield Town shirt, definitely.
Anyone for you, Kosi, or do you think that you should just look forward rather than look back?
Yeah, forward rather than back. I always have a soft spot for Danny Ward for a lot of reasons. But again, I don't think there's probably much in it with him and Grab, but probably it's better keeper. But
yeah,
look forward really in that as well.
If you remember, before the playoffs, Danny Ward had his fair share of pelters as well, didn't he? For the goal conceded at Brighton that time, he got beat on his near post quite a few times, and I think he got a few pelters. So it just shows Smithies. We'll talk about the top 10 team of the decade next podcast, won't we, Kosi? But a lot of people are saying Alex Smithies, but he used to get absolute pelters, when he played for us.
Oh, yeah. Guys, buy a programme on Saturday. I'm in it. The top 5 Town people that have come through the system, and there's one hugely controversial one, but no spoilers. Programme available at the ground on Saturday. Get it bought.
This could be the last time that you're in the programme. So
I know.
What are this question came through and from Alex Vasilenko, and I thought this was quite interesting. I'm not going to read it all out, but he says, if you could have any match summariser alongside Oggy, who would you be? So let's sort of go with a fantasy summariser. Say Matt Glennon's on holiday for whatever reason, and you could pick someone. Who would you have? Kosi, we'll go with you first to do this summary alongside Oggy. I've got a couple who I'd like to see.
Well, does it have to be a Town person or
anyone you want? It could be your mum if you really want. Yeah.
No. Phil Senior did that show with us, didn't he, in pre-season? I loved what he had to say. Good opinions. In touch with the modern game, knows how it works. Obviously, recent player for us and that as well. I'd have him in, and I'd have him back. It'd almost be like an equivalent of Noel Whelan, really. Totally biased. Get in there and that. Peter Jackson, get him on.
Jacko's in my list of 3, yeah. So I've got Jacko in my list of 3. Simon, anyone that you think that you would like to see or hear, even?
Bit of a get-out answer in truth, but I always think Danny Cowley's kind of post-match interviews are actually really insightful, certainly more so insightful than some of the kind of managers we've had previously. Tells you why he did stuff and why he kind of made changes, etc. And I think he would be very good in that.
Live from the bench.
Live from the bench. I'm quite happy to see him in the dugout. I don't know, kind of. But it's a good question, is that one? Do you reckon Boovy be any good?
Maybe. I never heard him. So
tell me how he sees it.
Yeah,
who knows?
I thought Tommy Miller was very good when he did it a couple of times for Radio Leeds, as was Ian Dunn as well. Mark Lillis was all right. Marcus Stewart might be interesting, but there's apart from Jacko, there's two people I would find quite amusing. One of them would be Danny Cadamartri. I think Danny Cadamartri would be quite funny.
Wednesday now, isn't it?
I can't remember. I think he was at Burnley last time I checked. He left Sheffield Wednesday, went to Burnley.
Burnley,
yeah. And he's does bits with England as well. Very, very good coach is Danny. So he's daft as well. So I think he adds two elements there, which would be good for me. But one I would love to listen to would be the mad German Michael Haefler. I think he would be fantastic if they could get him on there. It'd be a right laugh, I think.
Be swearing, wouldn't it? They'd be cut off. They'd be cut off about 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Every word be an F.
That'd be brilliant. Johnny Buchan would have no idea what to do. So, Johnny, if you do, you listen every now and then, don't you? You drop in. So if you can, Michael Haefler would be amazing if you could get him on. So maybe not this Saturday though. Right, guys. So that's pretty much it for what we've got this week. Before we go, you guys have got any other business that you would like to round up on?
Yeah. Next week we've got a special, so watch out on our social media. It's going to be a review. Obviously, we'll touch a teeny bit on Forest, but it's going to be like a look back. Not just like the last year, like normally we do, but we're going to look back at a decade. So I'm going to probably come up with some ideas. I'll need everyone's kind of opinion. I don't know. In my head, the best signings, the worst signings, your best moments, the worst moments. We're going to have a really fun podcast next week, and let's look back a decade, because let's be honest, as a town fan, what a decade it's been. If you think where we started, vain attempts to get out of it, League One, Dean Oil, the journey, Old Trafford, we got up there eventually, Dean's gone, etc. So there's a lot to think about. So, but I want to make it as fun as possible, so stand by on on our social medias, because I want as many bits of input as possible as we say goodbye to the decade next week.
How about you, Simon? Anything on a farewell note?
Just one for me. Good luck to the under-18s tonight. I think they play Chelsea in their cup games, so I'm hoping they
easy job.
Yeah, the last two times we played Chelsea in the cup, I think we've lost 6-0 on both occasions. They usually have some very, very good players down there. I think Tammy Abraham ripped us to shreds one year, a few years back. I think he got a couple. But yeah, good luck to them. Chelsea youth teams tend to be very, very special. So yeah, hopefully they'll do well and bring it back. So thank you to everybody who's got in touch with us. We love the interaction. Keep subscribing to us. Share it amongst your friends. Retweet it. It all really helps spread the word and give us some love, because we're shallow individuals at the end of the day, aren't we? So, with it being Christmas, do you want a little bit of Michael Baldle, Kosi, or are you okay at the minute?
I'm okay at the minute, but recording on Monday, aren't we, next week, is it, for us?
Yeah, Monday, yeah.
Monday and that as well, so I'll come up with some kind of anthem for that, but no, it's bring your scarf and all Saturday. We want to make it a bit spectacular, so yeah, looking forward to Saturday. Up the town, down the Forest, we ain't Nottingham Forest. We ain't, yeah, you know the words.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, and they're the pride of the town. And the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, 'cause every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.